This $10 billion crypto whale just told us he believes Ethereum is about to pump. So before I get into my analysis, I do want to go over quickly what he is saying. So, and by the way, if you don't know who Garrett Bullish is, he's pretty well known in the space by now. He was the whale that everyone was talking about, who was making those massive trades on Hyperliquid. But yeah, it's basically confirmed this guy is worth billions and billions and billions in crypto. So he says the ETH/Nasdaq 100 ratio has repeatedly found a bottom around the 0.11 level, which coincides with the RSI approaching the 30 oversold zone. ETH is in a bottoming range. So basically what he's saying is he's charting Ethereum against the Nasdaq, and he says basically every time Ethereum gets into this zone right here, it forms a bottom and then Ethereum starts to mega pump. And that, along with that, the RSI is also pretty low. So if we take a look at what Ethereum did the last time it was in this zone, so the last time it was in this zone was in about a quarter way through 2025, and the previous tap in this zone was basically 3/4 of the way through 2024. And there was a couple more touches as well, so we'll just use this one right here. So this is the biggest, and yeah, you can see this touch super low down was basically just midway through 2022. So on the Ethereum chart, I drew a vertical line basically around the time where his chart says, you know, Ethereum should have bottomed. And honestly, like, it does seem to work, his strategy, right? You know, using his strategy, he would have called this bottom here on ETH, this one right here, and this one right here. And yeah, he is once again saying that this right here was a bottom and we should see ETH outperformance going forward. So going back to his tweet, he says, looking ahead, the probability of ETH outperforming the Nasdaq 100 over the coming months increases, with a ratio target in the 0.16 to 0.22 range, implying roughly 50 to 100% upside. So at these current prices, a 50 to 100%, let's say 75%, would bring Ethereum basically back to all-time highs at around a price of $5,200. So he then goes on to say, given ETH and the Nasdaq 100 are highly correlated, large divergences are unlikely to persist. Mean reversion is inevitable, especially under scenarios such as the US potential quantitative easing restart, direct cash stimulus to households, and the broader policy backdrop where the SEC Chair Atkins is accelerating the on-chain migration of US equities onto Ethereum. So he's just basically saying, you know, Ethereum and the Nasdaq have historically been correlated. So anytime they do diverge, which is what they're doing now, the Nasdaq has been going up whilst ETH has been going down, tend to be temporary, and that the macro is looking very, very good. So yeah, he thinks we could see ETH continuing to push back up. And honestly, his arguments seem to be pretty decent to me, right? Now, I'm going to go over my analysis in just a second, and we have a lot to talk about. But before I do, if you haven't already, check the description down below to some of the top crypto exchanges, and if you sign up by using any of those links, you can claim a major bonus. For example, Bybit is giving you $30,000 if you just sign up using the link below. They're basically the top exchanges I personally use to trade. So let's get on to my Bitcoin analysis. So if you watched my video yesterday, it doesn't seem like a lot of people did, but you know, you heard me say that this down here, this lower low, wasn't too good and that it could have broken the bullish structure. However, you know, we have rebounded back up from these support levels, and more importantly, we didn't surpass this low right here. So I could technically just consider this entire low here one big low, right? So the bullish structure is still intact. Once again, for the bullish structure to be intact, we want to see higher highs, which so far there has been higher highs, and we want to see higher lows as well, which so far we have not surpassed this low right here. So as it stands right now, Bitcoin is still in a bullish structure. And not only that, but the S&P 500 also completely recovered. So I added an extra support line right at this reversal point right here. But yeah, we are now back above this range, which is great to see. If we stayed in this range for any longer, once again, things could have looked pretty ugly. We may have ended up going all the way to the bottom of this range. But yeah, you know, we are back in the green for the S&P 500, and I do want to see this this continue going up, right? I think, you know, if we do surpass this high right here and also just in general make new all-time highs, that could be us fully in the clear for the S&P 500. And yeah, it could continue up for the next few weeks, which is amazing for Bitcoin. Once again, if you don't know why I always tend to look at the S&P 500, it's because the stock market and majors in crypto are insanely correlated. So generally speaking, if this looks like it wants to run for the next few weeks, and I think we will get that confirmation if we do, you know, surpass this high right here and also just make a new all-time high, then yeah, that is great for Bitcoin. If we're unable to do that, right, and we still print lower lows and we eventually start heading back into this range again, then yeah, that's not going to be too good for Bitcoin. So those are my thoughts on the chart. I hope you enjoyed this video. Once again, make sure to take advantage of the major bonuses I have down below. I'll see you soon.